So we're gonna get into indoctrination and myth. This comes from the villain. First question I have, I just want to go over what is indoctrination. Obviously, like how can one become indoctrinated? What is indoctrination?
I mean, in the way I would use indoctrination, right, is sort of this shared belief system that we all fall under. So, like, for example, Christmas, Easter, right? We know those things aren't real. We still celebrate them, right? Some of these things could be cultural. Some of them aren't. You know what I mean? Some of them are just shared social views at the moment, you know? But the reality of the situation is they kind of don't get us anywhere. And it's those barriers that hold us back from sort of evolving like we should. I mean, we at a point in time in the world where we can change our lives in a way that's unseen. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't seen this before. I mean, social media in and of itself, if you was really to think about it, it's a collective consciousness. Everybody is yapping at each other all the time. And what do we have for that? We got dank memes. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like, we haven't reached a level of evolution yet. You know, evolution. We haven't reached a new level of consciousness yet because of the standards, you know, that we live by and that we hold. And, you know, eventually is what's probably going to kill us. You know what I mean? Yo, stem cells could extend our life. You know, we have technology that is so amazing, but we're using it for the wrong things. And it's all the way we're socialized, right?
Because we've been indoctrinated.
Because we've been indoctrinated with just regular everyday shit.
And then how does one become indoctrinated though? So like, with that description.
You know, it's what you're taught when you grow up. It's how you grow up. It's the things that, you know, information is like food. You know, Saul Williams made a great analogy, I think it was on Breakfast Club, about how you take in and consume information. You know, same thing as your diet.
Like you are what you eat.
You are what
but
you
it's
eat.
not just what you put in your mouth.
Right, exactly.
Right, it's what you watch, what you read,
what
like
you
what
watch,
you
hear,
consume.
what you experience, you know, on a day to day, right? So that being said, I don't even remember the point I was going to.
Becoming indoctrinated.
That being said, there's a path that you walk down that's created before you're even born. You know what I mean? But it's your choice whether you're going to continue down that path or not. You know what I mean? And even when you widen your perspective, it's only widened by the things that you have available to you in your environment, right? And sort of that's the guise that indoctrination falls under. Everything that you have access to has been provided to you. Right. So I could sit here and talk about great altruistic ideas, but that's only because what I have access to and what I could expound upon, right? I've had to gain that somehow. I didn't create that. It was given to me. You know what I mean? Somehow.
Yeah. So, with that said, because you said you wanted to lead with this quote, so I just wanted to read the quote because I wrote it down.
Right.
You said the layman goes along with it, the smart man questions everything, and the wise man asks, what am I buying into? Yeah. So, let's lead with that.
So, like...
What does that mean?
So, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a layman, right? Like, just the average individual. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being smart. You know? Thing is you can get caught up in the moment and try and consume too much information, right? And what is that information doing? You're going back to the diet. It's like you're overeating on information. How are you going to process this information that you got, right?
Right.
And you know, truly wise man says, what am I buying into? Well, what am I doing? Why do I need this? And how is it going to help me? You know? And those are questions that you have to ask yourself, and how you decide to live your life and what's good to you versus what the idea of good is. Because there's an idea, a shared belief of what good is. You know,
what's that shared idea?
Well, it's
or
sort of...
Do you know it? I don't know. What's the shared idea of good?
It's kind of, right? It's one of those things where, like, it's just a word that we don't necessarily have an actual, like, definition for. I mean, we have a definition for the word good.
Yeah, good.
The idea of it, like,
right.
It's good to give to charities. It's good to help people that's less fortunate. It's good to do whatever sort of helps people. But is that necessarily good? Who are you helping? How does that affect your environment? How does that affect you? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you're breaking yourself to helping somebody, is that actually good, right? Or, is your advancement putting you in a position where you can actually, do
I was going to
things?
ask something similar to that. Like, can you be indoctrinated into a positive stream of beliefs that is good for your self-betterment and the betterment of other people? Is it still indoctrination? Like, is indoctrination only like a...
No, it's not a negative thing. Indoctrination is just is something that we all go through. You know what I mean?
It's just subscribing. It's just subscribing to ways and ways and actions.
Can I say something?
What did you want to say?
Like what he was going off of, like, some people could get. It's like there has to be a balance. Like some people could get into that old mindset of I have to like help. I have to be a giver. I have to give away all my stuff. Or some people got to be like, oh, I gotta eat all the good food or look up all the important information in the world. It's just like you gotta know the lines between overload and what's just like what's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, facts. Yo, and by the way, that's not my quote. Just to make it
no,
clear,
that's not. Yeah, you didn't say that. Right,
I'm not saying going back to indoctrination, right? Obviously, I've been indoctrinated through school.
For the record, I can hear you brush your beard.
Oh yeah,
that's why the audience is aware.
Tell me to stop brushing my beard. Yo, I gotta train the grain on my beard.
But it builds character, I think, when you're listening to it. Like,
right? Just like some scruffy shit. Like,
it's alright. I got the Anthony Hamilton.
You got the BDB.
Charlie.
So yeah, you know what I mean. That being said, it folds in the image, right? Mm-hmm. And so like people believe in this image to where like being fake has become an archetype. Right? Like there's the social media who you are, then there's who you are actually. And that's why like I troll on social media because I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, really, this is the image that you want to present to the world? Is this really you? This is how you believe? No, it's not. Stop it. And stop it. For me, in my perspective, and the reason why I say that is because like, how much more could you advance if you focused on something else? How much more could we do? You know what I mean? As human beings. And that being said, and the reason why, the villain, I didn't come up with that name. I was given that name because the villain always challenges, right? And it's only through the challenge, steel sharpens steel. It's only through the questioning and the challenge that you come to something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so, that being said, people don't like a challenge. People don't like when you put the mirror in front of the image. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you actually like try to dig deeper beyond the image. Like I'll give you a prime example. People always talk about The Art of War, but have never read the book. Yo, it's one of the most simple. It's one of the most simplest like.
Yo, Fu was like
ever.
chilling until he said that he was.
Yo,
like,
it's one of
nigga, you better not say my name, nigga.
It's
Sun Tzu.
It's.
Do you have beef with Sun Tzu or something?
I've read the book.
It's so simple. It's so simple. But you know what's dope about The Art of War?
Yeah.
Like it shows you when you read it. It shows you sort of where your perspective is at in life, right? Because I remember reading it in my projection in my head, like there was a male voice, it was a low tone, and I was like, yeah, my forces have to be on the hill with artillery. There's only
like
5
I had a
takes.
similar reader's voice.
There's only 5 takes. But then, like, yo, I downloaded the audiobook. I had to go, like, I was taking it, like, I was going to New York, like, a 4-hour trip. So I was like, yo, let me just download this audiobook and fall asleep on the bus listening to this, right? And it was narrated by a woman's voice. And then, like, all the meanings changed, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's perspective. That's indoctrination, right? Like, in my head, I'm like, oh, the war. Some, like, male voice, right? But then, like, a woman's voice came across while I was listening to the audiobook. And I was like, yo, this changes everything.
That's interesting.
Right? And and that shows, like, my projection, right? Mm-hmm. And that goes back to, like, I'll admit I'm flawed. You know what I mean? I'll admit I got to keep learning and building all the time. I am in no way, shape, or form a well of knowledge and no more than anybody else. These are just my thoughts and perspectives, right? And it shows that just a slight change in something, you know? That's the whole point of perspective. Like, yo, just move a little bit to the left and look at it. You know?
I got you. So, yo, with that said about image, I just wanted to jump right into this one. Like, do you think the entire society is built on archetypes?
Of course. I mean, that's the whole point of an archetype.
Now, is this just the country, or is this like, do you think that's a global thing?
Yo, there's shared.
It has to be a global
it's
thing.
a global thing.
Yeah.
There's shared belief systems. Like, yo, take religion, right? All religion, every religion, and spirituality has a hierarchy to it.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. So that you are looking up and giving this existential, this thing that's outside of you, you're giving it power by believing in it and by moving to the way.
Who killed me, yo?
Yo, by moving to what it tells you to
Fu
do.
didn't speak. Yo, go ahead. Fu, you
No,
disagree?
that's his point.
Oh, so you agree?
But
Huh?
You agree?
He's talking about existentialism. Let's go.
So does that mean let's go?
He said, "Let's go."
he locked in. He said, "Ding, ding." Yo, listen. So, you know, it's why spiritualism and religion is dangerous. Now, it's not a dangerous thing to gather in groups and have a communal,
Yeah, I got
Wow.
you. Like a
communal belief.
Right.
In something, so that together as a community you can move forward and build something. But we should view it as that versus looking outside of ourselves for something. We should take the internal responsibility and move forward with that, because that's just much more of a powerful thing. And then you can have this understanding that you did something, right?
Isn't that
Instead of I did something because I had to.
isn't that like what you're saying about doing like the internal work? Is that fall into the category of individualism?
No, I think that falls in the category of humanism. Where it's
Okay.
like, I think humanists, they view it as, you know what, it's my job as a person in humanity to help society. I don't need an outside being to tell me to do that. I do it because I am a part of the human family. You see what I'm saying?
That's interesting.
But however, I will say this though, maybe me and the villain might disagree, is I could also see the benefits of religion, because
Yeah.
you can force people by inspiring them through religion to do positive things in society.
Of course.
So it's not always necessarily like, you know, the powers that be utilizing religion to control the people. It's always going to be people being controlled, but sometimes controlling people could be a positive thing for society, for humanity. You see what I'm saying?
mean,
and so
That's how society was built. That's how
Exactly,
civilization
yeah.
was built. You can't get around that. You know what I mean? You can't. My thing is like, all right, now we're here at a point where like we are all communicating with each other across the world. Yo, let's take it to the next step and like let's hold each other accountable. You know what I mean? If we see another world war, I'm gonna be surprised.
Oh, I
gonna
won't be surprised.
I'm gonna be surprised because
Albert Pike already predicted it.
what? Nice.
It's right on schedule.
Nice. What social media and the internet has done has put faces and names, right? Before we didn't have that. Before we had stories. You know what I mean? Before we had some image and some idea that was given to us. Now, you know what I mean? I could be friends with somebody in Dubai and learn about their life. You know what I mean? I talk a lot of shit about Canada. But I got some friends in Canada now because of... So I always talk shit about bag milk. I mean, it eludes
Bag
me.
milk.
Shit doesn't make sense. Canadians have bag milk. It's crazy.
There was a bag milk phase in middle school.
Yeah, we was throwing it at each other. I remember that.
Yeah,
And I hated it.
yeah.
I hated bag milk. You couldn't drink
I don't
it.
think I've.
Just
I don't think
putting
I've
the
ever had
straw
bag milk.
through it.
Yo, was you
the
at the
challenge.
Timothy?
I was at the Timothy.
Nice.
Yeah, you were.
Nice.
You were talking about Yeah.
Nice little connection here.
Yo, we was
I
definitely...
got a yearbook with you in it. I have a yearbook at home
I
with you
probably
in it.
threw a bag milk.
Apparently the
at you.
Timothy
Motherfucker,
has bag
motherfucker.
milk.
See how it's called?
No, but I mean, now we're all connected. We can see each other. There's a little bit less myth in the world, so you can't sell an idea of the evil communists coming to get your children in the middle of the night. Like, you can't sell that idea, because I'm like, nah, man. Like, I played him in Destiny, and he's nice. He runs with me all the
He's
time
nice
on my
with it.
squad.
Yeah.
He don't even swear nothing.
Yo,
He's very
perfect
polite.
example, right? To add on what the villain's saying, like, social media will show you what's really going on the Gaza Strip, right? I remember a couple years ago, they shown, like, somebody recorded when the Israeli government bombed an apartment building.
Yeah.
You see literally, like, limbs everywhere, kids dead, like, elderly crying, all of that stuff. Like, you see it, you're like, yo, this is crazy. This is what's the reality. You see what I'm saying?
They can't get away with it no more.
Exactly. Yo,
you know?
over,
Right.
like, it was yesterday in the Gaza Strip, they done shot up, like, over 100 protesters. Like, 20 died or something. You know what I mean? Like, now they can't hide it no more because social media is a whole different beast. You know what I'm saying? So now we don't have to rely on Fox and NBC and CBS and everything for our content anymore. We could just go on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and just see the shit for what it is. You know what I mean? Now people can't just lie. Now you can find a way to spin it.
Oh yeah.
If you're smart enough. You know
Actually,
what I'm saying?
I would disagree. I think right now is even way easier for people to lie because we have several news stories, several things that people perceive as
You have several news stories that people
perceive as truth. No. All right, we can take September 11th. There's a lot of people who.
Bro, did you just hop back a couple of decades? Yo, I don't even mean to interrupt you, but I do agree with your point. Okay. Yes, because of image and because we have social media, you can make it seem a certain way, right? That goes into image, but then that goes into your own investment of what are you trying to find out, right? So. Israel's a perfect example. In the 90s, they used to be like these evil people with blase blah. But now, you looking at it and you're like, yo, these is kids throwing rocks at tanks.
Exactly.
Yo, let me, my fault. Let me say this, right? Two stories, just two real quick stories. So, first story is this, right? The way we see things in the Western world is completely different from the way people see things in the rest of the world, right? Take Arabs, for example, right? We see the day, we have whole archetypes around the day and light and it being great and amazing, and then we have these, social fears of nighttime and how bad things can happen at night, because there's no light and you can't see. But if you're talking about the Middle East, right, it's hot all day. Sometimes temperatures could reach ridiculous amounts, right? And so a lot of times what happens is people don't do a lot during the day, and when it cools down, everybody comes out at nighttime. So they see night and day completely different than we see night and day, right? So that leads into this story. There was a refugee from Israel that came in and he spoke. This is mad years ago. I mean, I was in high school, and I'm old. So this guy came and spoke, and he was talking about there's curfews over there, right? And the thing is about Arab culture is, even with, like, you look at Ramadan and you look at Eid, you know what I mean? Like, nighttime is the celebration, you know what I mean? So this curfew at 8 o'clock, that's when everybody comes out to, and that's the social time, right? So this refugee was talking about, the kids, they would always break curfew. And they would go up to like one of the hills and they would fly kites, right? When curfew started getting enforced, the military started shooting these kids who were flying kites. All these kids knew was to have fun. They wasn't trying to hurt nobody. They just wanted to fly some kites, bro. And they got shot for that.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I get, security is paramount. I just think there's better ways to go about it. Right. You shooting a kid who's flying a kite.
I was like, damn, nigga, you forgot.
I'm visualizing it because when he was telling the story, it was like, yo, you shooting a kid flying a
just
kite.
doing one of the most innocent things.
Right.
That's kids flying kites. It's like American as apple pie.
Yeah.
That's like baseball and bubblegum and like, yo.
Hot dogs.
And hot dogs and Fenway Park. And like, yo.
Nah, I got you.
And all for what? Some idea, some terrorists. You know what I mean? Like, and you.
I mean, that goes into the power of fucking Indoctrination.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you want to know what? On a whole different level, like, yo, I love the troops. I definitely support the troops. These people give their lives so that we can have our commonplace freedoms and privileges every day so that even we could be here. You know what I mean? So, you know, I support them. I don't support the power structure that tells them, you know, to kill people.
I understand
that don't deserve it. You know what I mean? Yo, because to run a country that has all the resources in the world, yo, people have to die. People have to die for our privileges. Yo, for me to wake up, go to work, drink my coffee, smoke my cigarettes, people gotta die.
And you're okay with that?
You wanna know what? You okay with it too. Because if you wasn't, you wouldn't live here. This is the reality of the situation.
That's right, bro.
The evils we accept on a daily basis, we're okay with. Like, let's not play with not okay with it. Because if we wasn't okay with it, we'd all leave. It's not that hard to get a plane ticket, bro. It really isn't.
Where would I leave? I'm indigenous to America.
You indigenous to America, right? But you talking about a belief system. You talking about a belief.
However, hold on. Let me help out Fu though. Fu, I see both points because I thought about this long and hard, right? However, where can you go? Like literally, the world is controlled and occupied by white institutionalism, white supremacy, and all that good stuff.
It's not just white.
It's not white. We know the families. We know the exact people.
Those are white families.
We're not.
So
it don't matter what they are. We know their names.
I'm not gonna argue semantics, dog. You know what I mean?
It's not semantics because.
All right, what was I say? I never said all white people for one.
We can literally pinpoint the exact councils. We can pinpoint the exact councils, the exact
that's cool.
meetings,
You know what's happening?
Treaties.
And then those same white families that own and control these white countries, they go to these black countries and tell them exactly what to do. So what I'm saying is still it's white supremacy. So I'm saying as a U.S. citizen, where can I go to evade, white supremacy? Tell me the country, tell me the island, and I will go. But there is not one. You know why? Because we are all occupied by this beast. You know what I'm saying? Just like we were controlled by the transatlantic slave trade, the people on the continent was controlled by colonization. You know what I'm saying? We're all fucked. So that's what I'm saying. I see both sides of the argument. I'm just saying like it's not as simplistic as people could just be like, yo, well, you accept it. We technically do. However, it's like, what other options do we have?
I think there's things that we can do that we don't do.
Like what?
I agree with that.
Like, just avoiding. I'm on my iPhone. You know what I mean? I know what they do to get these shits done. You know what I mean? Niggas got Samsungs, yo. I mean, there's things we can do. I don't have to have this device, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't have to.
You don't have to wear that shirt. You don't have to wear those sneakers.
You don't have to protest.
I really don't.
You gonna wear 100%.
You don't have to be in the studio. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I don't. You know what I mean? But that's his point.
You can wear locally.
That's really his point. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's all convenient and it's necessary for what we're doing right now. But it's convenience.
That convenience is
it's more about the convenience.
Is worth somebody's life. That's the subconscious decision we've made. Like, that's just the reality of it.
Yo,
until you accept your good and your evil and understand where that is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're not really gonna talk from a base of understanding. You know what I mean? I agree. I don't want to cut you guys off. We only got so much time, but I want to make sure I got this in.
Yo, he hasn't spoken.
You were trying to say something?
I mean, I started. I think I started on talking about September 11th, but it was to build a point of.
What was the point?
Exactly. Yeah, I looked at
because you're like, what does September 11th have to do with today? All right, so you have. Today you have large amounts of terrorism, right, in the United States that we've never seen before in the past, right? But you can go back to old interviews, right, and where you learn that ISIS was created by the United States. These are facts that we know, right? And was created by Israeli intelligence, Mossad, right?
You cited two different countries. I'm just saying you cited two different
working in collusion. Two different countries that the United States sends more aid to Israel than any other country in the world.
This is gonna be our last
episode. So,
got numbers behind that?
I do.
So,
but my whole thing is that a lot of these corporations, governments are working in collusion and a bigger plan And there's really a spiritual warfare that's going on that a lot of people are unaware of. And really it's the focus
Let him speak, man.
the
Let him speak.
focus is to take people's consciousness away from doing things that are peaceful and productive, and really building angst and fear and fear mongering people, so they fear the state, so they fear corporations, so they stay in bad health, so they die, so they can control the population and control the society. Now, you know what I mean? It was right to a certain extent. I don't think necessarily participating in every aspect of society is collusion with the society. So me and U differ there. You know what I mean? I don't condone wars or control. You know what I mean? If I stop paying my taxes, I'll probably go to prison. Now, are taxes even lawful in the first place? That's a whole different conversation. But whether it was or wasn't, I'd probably still go to prison either way, right? So, unless I really knew my rights and really knew the laws.
You probably still would go to prison. Even if you
still
know
go to jail.
Yeah.
I mean, there's indigenous.
Shut up.
There's indigenous law.
That nigga was a multi-millionaire. Stop it. And that nigga was claiming that sovereignty shit.
Hey, not everybody's situation
Yo,
is
I
the same.
can hear you when you put your feet up
I'm
on
sorry,
it.
sorry.
But it's all right.
Yeah, so basically, there's a lot of situations, things that people perceive that are real. There's a lot of Gulf of Tonkins going on. If you guys aren't familiar with Gulf of Tonkin, it was when the U.S. bombed its own ship to start the Vietnam War.
But hang on, so you're saying this to just prove that there's a lot that's being hidden and masked behind.
Yes, and I'm pointing out mostly the mainstream media for this, and the mainstream media working with government institutions in order to create certain perceptions where people in America aren't getting what's actually really happening.
Okay, now I do see that and believe that. I do have to move on to this next question.
Okay.
The villain gave me something. He said there's 3 layers of identity. He said there's self, there's the interpersonal, and then there's the shared perception of an identity.
That's also not mine. That's
not his. This is
mine.
just a conversation that we had before this episode.
Under the hat the whole time?
What, this?
Yeah.
The man bun?
Yeah.
Yo, I'm a samurai.
Oh my goodness. I just blunk and I was like, whoa.
Son, shout out to man bun.
But
Man bun.
if the man with the man bun
The man with the man bun.
could dive into that a little bit. What do you mean with the three identity?
So
where did you get that from? First of all,
I got
Spinoza.
It from Spinoza.
Okay.
And I always fuck the title up, but it's like the Addendum on the Treatise of Intelligence.
Yeah, it's a long title. I tried looking for it.
It's free though. Yo, all of Spinoza's work is free. Go online, download the PDFs. You might have to look for them for a while, but it's free. Go get it, read it. You know what I mean? He never really wrote a book, but he got a collection of work. He's one of these motherfuckers just write pages and pages. Spinoza,
okay, that makes sense.
Spinzo.
They're like he writes like essay. He's like a writer.
He's one of those dudes. All right, so
that's
Spinoza
what
was a gangster. Let me tell you about Spinoza real quick. Spinoza was a gangster. Real quick. He was Jewish. He spoke against like the institution of that religion.
Mm-hmm.
Then he came after Christians. You gotta understand in his time and era that was not the thing to do. That's like talking shit about the government and the police at the same time and running around like, yo, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like it's he was written. This was in an era where you was getting killed in the street for heresy like that. So, you know, shout out to Spinoza.
Yeah. And so he's the one who has this self-interpersonal and shared.
Yeah. Treatise on the Addendum of Intelligence. I think I'm fucking that title up, but whatever. So there's layers, and so Spinoza, you know, a lot of people cite ethics because Spinoza ethics is a great read. It's sort of some people say it's the birth of the atheist. Spinoza wasn't an atheist. I guess you could liken him to a Gnostic. I don't know what you would technically call him, but Spinoza saw, these shared religious beliefs as damaging to the people and their thought processes.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it right
So
there.
it's ethics treatise on the amendation of the intellect and
I fucked
selected
that title all the way up.
letters.
No, that's select. I don't.
Selected letters.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just long as
selected
fuck.
letters.
It's a whole bunch of words
Right.
put
Yeah,
together.
selected
It
letters is
sounds
not in
very
the title.
nice.
Selected letters is not in the title. I always fuck his titles up. But I would say read ethics. It's a good base. It gives you
I say read
a
the
lot
Bible.
of information.
I came across ethics.
It's
so read
it's
them.
good. It's good. Like it's good philosophy. It's good like foundation building. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he got all the answers. I'm saying I like what he wrote. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
So as far as the shared beliefs, right? Like I know G.
Shared beliefs or shared idea?
All right, let's go. Let's go into like the knowledge of knowing someone, right?
Yes.
Like I know G. Me and G have a personal relationship. You know G, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and G have a personal relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two. That's an identity, right? Me and G's understanding. That's an identity of who G is in mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then me and you know G. That's a separate identity. That's a shared belief of an identity. But
Mm-hmm.
G to himself is G on his own.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Like, and that's and all of those things are different.
Yes, I
You
see.
know what I mean? And so with that being said, like, how could you truly like know someone, right? You know what I mean? If there's all these different identities, right? Then how could you? And it's all different. You know what I mean?
And what about the concept that like people can point out something in you that you never realized about yourself?
Right, and that's that interpersonal relationship. You know, somebody can point out something that you've never seen yourself because that's their take and their idea of who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an entity in and of itself. But two people might be like, yeah, he's a really great guy, he does this, but then one person might be like, yeah, well, you know, I had business dealings with him and he stiffed me, so I don't really like him that much. And that's an identity of that person with that other guy, right? You know, and so there's this common shared idea of something, right? And is that necessarily true?
Mm.
You know? And so, like, moving in that understanding, since we're talking about indoctrination and image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since there's these layers of understanding, when you show somebody an image, there's an image of anything, like a flower, right? There's a shared understanding of that flower, right? But when you break that flower up, it may have medicinal purposes, right? Or, you know, that flower, someone might be allergic to it. So there's all these layers of perspective, and I'm oversimplifying you know, the idea, but I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible so it's digestible, right? And so because of that, it's very easy to move people with a shared idea. It's very easy to yoke a population with an image, you know, because of what everyone believes.
It's easy to yoke people with an image.
Yeah.
Yoke a population.
Yoke a population.
I agree.
What is yoking?
It's one of the key
Like bringing them
principles.
together,
Bringing
Oh, like,
people
you know,
Literally
getting them
yoke.
behind the idea
Right,
to
right.
then get them, you know,
What do you
thinking a certain way, then committing an action for the idea, right? That's just basic physics of how something happens.
What do you
right?
think makes it easy?
Right, it's the shared belief in indoctrination, right? So it's that existential good, it's that existential evil. You know what I mean? Like, Guinness, right? In some places, Guinness is considered mother's milk, right? And
You're talking about the beer?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's considered mother's like I've heard of it called mother's milk, and small children are given Guinness in teething, right? When they're teething in the teething phase, right? That's completely
that.
unacceptable in Western culture to give a child alcohol.
I know
I
black
heard-
people that do it.
Yeah, right. But in the
no.
mainstream
Caribbean people
American
do it.
Western
Yeah.
culture, in the mainstream American Western culture, it's completely unacceptable to give children alcohol. However, what you just said, I know some black people that
But
do
then
it,
there's
right?
also the
it's
okay
a cultural
for-
okay thing, right? So that's what I'm talking about with myth and indoctrination. If you took that to a court trial, or you took that to like the law, those CPS is coming in.
DCF is coming.
CPS is coming. DYS is coming. Parents is losing their rights.
But it's not. I don't think it's illegal for a pregnant woman to drink alcohol.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and then there's also like
it should be.
It's a shared belief that it's a bad practice, right?
It should be called infanticide,
But responding to what you said about it being like unacceptable, I guess like a child outside of the womb, like you wouldn't give him alcohol, like you wouldn't hear about that. But like it's definitely legal for pregnant women to consume alcohol at a bar. Like you don't have to refuse them a drink or refuse to serve them, and that even that wine could be a little healthy for pregnant women or something like that.
I be having issues with hearing like things
like
about
half medical truths.
Yeah,
I feel like people took.
Think about soy, right? Think about
Yeah.
soy. Remember in the 90s and the early 2000s, people was like, soy is the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
Now we know that you can't really process soy that well. You know what I mean? It was all the hype behind soy.
Yeah.
People was like, soy everywhere. It's my problem with the word organic. You know what I mean? Like, people just like believe in it, and there's nothing behind it.
Talk about the word organic.
There's nothing behind the word organic. You know what I mean? It doesn't have this or that. Some organic food is still GMO. It just means there wasn't pesticides put on it, right? So that might be worse, because then you have food that has pesticide that was grown in it. Now, is that a bad thing or a good thing? I don't know if there's enough data on the subject. It probably is. To make a decisive call either way, because there's so many different schools of thought. But then that goes into myth and indoctrination. Like people who believe you shouldn't get your children vaccinated. I think that's silly. I mean, this is the way we cause mass disease to happen, right? Get vaccinated.
Uh-oh.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Throw that virus. Hold on. Throw that virus right. A matter of fact, so you don't get the disease. Throw the disease right inside of you, dormantly. That is the best solution. You're right.
Hang on.
Yo, listen.
I love
how many cases of polio exist now?
You know what?
How many cases of polio exist now?
There actually have been. Actually, there have been modern cases of polio.
But
polio is resurfacing, and you know what?
Because people haven't vaccinated their kids. Yo, there's studies on this where vaccinations haven't happened to people, and they're catching these old diseases.
Yo, you do know vaccines wasn't the cause for polio dying out.
Ooh.
It was actually just natural selection.
Oh.
That's all it was.
Gangster.
The people who had the immunity survived. The people who did not die out.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? For example, polio, the reason why polio was in India wasn't because
that's one
people
for God.
were ill. It was literally because
I need to see medical journals and citations on this.
That's one for God, zero for science.
The Indian government is suing the Gates Foundation right now because of that very same reason. The Gates Foundation implemented.
Guys, hang on. Go ahead.
Implemented the polio, what's the one that you put in your mouth? The oral polio vaccination in like 3 different towns in India. And then all kind of people started dying, all kind of kids started becoming handicapped. It started causing a polio outbreak in India that never existed ever in the history of
Science
India.
is not the answer.
You see what I'm saying? So now it's like we can pretend that vaccines are the solution.
Did you just say science is not the answer?
No,
that's why we all gonna die. That's why we all gonna die.
Hold on.
What I'm saying is, I'm not against.
What I'm saying
is, I'm actually not against vaccines. However, what we're doing in this society is, we're putting for sake of to be cost effective, right? We're putting like cocktails into these vaccines where we're like combining all different types of
mercury.
Just all different types of like vaccinations into one shot onto kids. That's the problem. So now me knowing it, right? When you look at the CDC, right? When they conducted like a study all throughout Georgia, and they compared when black kids take it. Black kids usually take it at the age of 3. Why? Because parents want to get their kids into preschool right away. To get into preschool, you got to get vaccinated. So black parents would just be like, yo, fuck it, yo, shoot my kid up with all of that shit. But when they show the white families, the white kids were getting on average the age of 6. You know what I'm saying? That's when like first grade or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's a difference. There's at least time for the kid to actually develop a little bit so their immune system's a little stronger to prevent like, you know, intentional issues and things of that nature.
Gee, there's no correlation between.
All right, so hold on. I
Let
completely
the-
agree with what you're saying, right? Over medicating a child at the wrong point in time in their development, yes, is flawed. But how do we find out about that? Through science.
I agree.
Now, check this out.
So we gotta sacrifice a few
in
kids.
third world countries, right? In disservice and disfranchised populations, they get the ass end of medical treatment. This is true. This is time immemorial in the world. People are practiced on, you know, Tuskegee experiment. Yes, those are real things. Yes, I'm a proponent of the things that you're talking about. However, without science, bro, we wouldn't get there. And I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm going to. Would you say science was evil or the devil?
No, it's not.
Oh my God,
It's not that.
that's why we. Yo, listen, that's why we're gonna die. That's why we're not gonna make it as a human race because of beliefs like that, and almost on a whole nother level.
Don't
If that's the reality of situation,
you don't want the God to come out.
If that's the reality of situation,
hold on. I'll let you speak.
No, hang on.
Yo, if that's the reality of situation, I'm fine watching the world burn. This could just be the cafe.
Good.
Yo, listen, this could just be the cafe at the end of the universe, and we can all just go and watch this human drama burn. You know, because the reality of the situation is you can't. Here's what's great about science. Yo, if it's wrong, science be like, yo, my bad, I was wrong, let's fix this. Science be like, we have to test to find out the answer. Right? So, when
you're saying it's okay to sacrifice. No, you're saying it's okay to sacrifice.
It's okay to sacrifice.
It's okay. So there's nothing wrong with the Tuskegee experiments then.
No,
it's okay to sacrifice people.
That's not what I said.
Because that's what science does. That's the problem.
That's not what science does.
That's what they're doing. They're experimenting on our children and that shit ain't right.
No, that's not what science does.
No, we're not going to agree. We're not going to agree. I'm going to speak my speech right now. I'm going to speak my speech.
Did you just yoke all of science against the human experiment?
Hold on. Yes.
Let him get it out. Let him get this off his chest.
Yo, because you know what? Them archetypes in comic books of the mad scientist is not based off of nothing, yo. That comes from real history, real shit, real human experimentation. If you look at the history of psychiatry as one science, right? Drilling holes in people's heads. I'm sorry, drilling holes in people's heads, doing all types of fuck shit, right? Well, all people really need was just some love. And some speaking to, and some care, right?
Yo, fool, I could take you seriously if you didn't have a smartphone.
Holistically,
science.
And I know the science phone's killing.
Science.
It's not that. I'm not saying do
science. No, let him finish. Go ahead.
What has happened is we've thrown human ethics out the way in order to progress, right? And once you do that, you move in the realm of the Satan. You know what I mean? The same Satan that don't exist in his world. You know what I mean? But we know who them devils are, and we know how them devils think. And so, and the devil and the devil seed, the seed of Cain, those people, they want to breed science. For example,
you know he's a Hebrew now.
So,
he's a Hebrew now?
Oh,
nice.
So example, let's talk about human genome engineering, right?
Yeah.
Mixing human genetics with animal
genetics. It's turned into a discussion on science. Go ahead.
That is a problem.
Yeah. Oh my god.
What people call chimeras and cloning.
Guys.
Cloning different
if I can just get a clear line of
cloning different species of animals, right? We're moving into a place where people was like, yo, that's not ethical. But now it's like, oh no, we need to progress.
Where I have to challenge you just off the rip.
Yeah.
Don't you think that you're generalizing all scientists? Like, I don't think they were all mad scientists.
No, I don't think all scientists are mad scientists. Evil,
bro. You said
I'm not. Sometimes you have to make an extreme point to get your
the back pedal.
This is the thing. We're in an age where scientific ethics, right? That ethics and morals have been taken out of humanity. And because
ethics and morals have been taken out of humanity,
and because of that, and there's a big proponent.
Do you think ethics and morals have been taken out of humanity?
Out of humanity?
But yo, listen, if you're gonna have that conversation, let's talk about like prostitution first. Like, let's talk about are you gonna joke science in with just some shit we do as human beings? Like, we've been terrible pieces of shit forever.
I think those are like terrible people who are also scientists.
No,
who
it has nothing to do with terrible people. People, listen. Good people do terrible things all the time.
You wouldn't have a smartphone if it wasn't
good people do terrible things all the time. People do
like,
things that are terrible just out for consequence.
For like World War II.
I'm talking about the way certain systems are built, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, he talked about like vaccines, right? Shit. The medical industry says, right? And if you look at most peer-reviewed medical journals, they will say there is no link between autism and vaccination, right? Now, there are medical journals that do say that on the fringe. And a matter of fact, the dude who actually came out with the
on the fringe,
the dude who came out with the experimentation was actually he was jailed. He was jailed for linking it. Why? Because there's corporate interests, right? And where there's money involved, Satan. When there's money involved.
Yo, you saying this with the flyest pair of A-Dogs on, man.
Hey,
yo,
I know.
And the socks match.
Listen.
Dope.
Yeah,
yo,
listen. Vegan?
Polio ice cream, bro.
Germany
Polio ice
cream.
Polio ice cream, bro.
Hey.
Polio. Yo, when you link things together that make no sense, I mean, that's like seeing a face in Mars. I mean, come on, bro. I mean, there's just things like I can make correlations to like, listen, yo, the sun shines, so like, you know, I don't know, there's gonna be a hip hop song, like, I don't know, like, you can make ridiculous correlations that just because two things exist at the same time, like, you know what I mean? I breathe air.
So you think it would be a ridiculous correlation?
I don't know, like, there's
a ridiculous correlation, even though
I see it just
there's ridiculous.
Many especially kids of color, black boys have been catching autism at high rates.
If you're talking about how this country treats people of color, that's a whole different debate than you saying science is like killing people through vaccination.
I'm just saying you don't need.
Listen.
We've been alive. We've been alive for centuries and eons.
I want to have
before people started.
I want to have that discussion. We just can't have it. I just can't have it yet.
That's not, bro.
We good,
bro.
We're gonna disagree.
We had a larger population number than we were.
Next question.
I gotta cut.
Next question.
Hold on, yo. Can I just ask?
Yo, tell me about the carbon. Hold on. Tell me about the carbon not being in cauliflower. Tell me about carbon not being in cauliflower.
Hang on.
Yo, can I ask a question to y'all too? All right. So we kind of talked about indoctrination. We even sprinkled in religion. Do you guys feel like religion is, I guess, wrong for our day and age? Do you think humanity has grown past religion, or do you even see that religion is still necessary? Either y'all could answer.
I'm gonna let Fu go first, but can I get a time limit so I can answer?
So
you got 30 seconds if you could possibly wrap this up, because I only got like 3 minutes left.
I think the miscegenation of the world has changed what we view, what religion. Traditionally, culture, religion spoke about a people and their heritage and their ancestry, right? So your spirituality was connected to your ancestors. And you read the Bible, they talk about, Genesis talks about Abraham and Lot and all those people and the lineage. So I think people need to try to move towards what is for them, what comes down your path. Okay. Not everybody's spiritual path is the same. I know people sometimes spiritually. Sometimes people want to follow other people's culture, and that's the new thing.
So all right. So check it out.
Real quick.
Here's my thing. I feel like if we're talking about any sort of institutional building, I mean, people need a focus, right? We haven't gotten to a way where we can educate people in mass on an equal playing field or level. So are we done with religion? Are we done with certain institutions? For humanity, I mean, I don't think so. Do I think we need to move beyond it? Yes. I think we need to move beyond like all of these fringe ideas that don't advance humanity forward. You know, the reality of the situation is we live in a day and age where we can live for hundreds of years. We live in a day and age where if we put the science behind something, science will solve the problem, right?
Mhm.
We could live in a utopian society, and we don't because of our indoctrinated beliefs and the images we hold.
There you go. That was said nicely.
Yo,
Listen.
I ain't shit but a cigarette, smoking, coffee drinking nigga, so don't listen
Man
to me.
bun wearing ass. Sometimes it's a pompadour.
Sheens, you got anything to add?
I look fly as
You
shit.
just
though,
added,
right?
nigga. You
Yo,
Yeah,
I look,
right?
I look fly as shit though,
Shit.
right?
My fault,
sorry.
yo. It's just it's a tight
No.
window. It's a tight window. You know what I mean? I just wanted to make sure you got something in. If you had anything to add.
Well, I mean, just briefly, like, I still feel like there's a place for religion because when, you know, you all talk about, like, self-reflection, some people do that in the form of meditating and some people do that in a more metaphysical form. But for some people, they do it by way of religion. And there's still sectors of different forms of different religions that don't follow, like, for instance, like, churches that openly accept, like, gay people, like people of the LGBT community as like strict and conservative as like religions are, you
Like
know,
gay
pertaining to that.
Republicans.
Gay
Right.
Republicans.
Precisely.
And
And that exists, definitely.
all right, yo,
Intern
I'm a
got
literally 20
5
seconds.
1 second. And this is why I challenge science to find efficient ways for one world government, one world religion, one world ways of living in peace.
Trust me, the Illuminati
That's what's up,
got
that's
you on
what's
that.
up.
They-
Yo,
they-
Alright, listen.
praise Jesus.
Listen.
Praise Jesus.
Listen, I gotta wrap it up. I gotta
Jesus.
wrap it up. I gotta give a major thanks to our guests for coming through. Fu, the villain. You know what I mean? Really appreciate you guys.
I look
Shout out
fly
to the
as shit right
intern.
now, right? Yo,
You know what I mean?
Tell the truth. I look fly as shit
It's
right
very
now.
weird. It's very
He's looking clean up here. You know what I mean? But listen, thanks for tuning in. Thank you guys. I'm gonna put this out there real quick. If you know or can recommend anyone who is a researcher, certified, going to school, certified
Science, nigga.
scientist, medical doctor, whatever, I really want to do an episode on vaccines. So I'm putting it out there. All right. If you know anyone who is who you think is legit and can talk on this, please let us know. All right. Just get in contact. Just go to the website upanicd.com. Go to contact us and let us know. That'd be great. But thanks for tuning in. That's it. Make sure you visit the website. Also, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you catch us on YouTube. And that's it. It's You Panic. Talk to y'all next week.
Science, nigga.
Drop that beat out whenever too. I fell in love with the horse. I fell in love with the money. You can't take anything from me. If I stop now, would it love me? I fell in love with the daughter. I fell in love with the chest. Get the fuck up on my way. Thought you meet me around the way. Young nigga ballin' no Collins. Young nigga flexin' no Collins. Young nigga ballin' no Collins. Young nigga flexin' no Collins. I'm with the souls and they wildin'. You let me know if there's problems. I go to work with the product. Catch me flexin' no Collins. Young nigga ballin' no Collins. Young nigga flexin' no Collins. We took a trip down to MIA. I pull up with 6 in the Mozzie. Skating through ocean, we wildin'. Skating down Biscayne, I'm sliding. 2-door, don't got no mileage. 2 hoes, I know they got mileage. Excuse me, I don't have no manners. Them Zoes pull up in the fenders. Them Zoes pull up in the what? Them Zoes just straight out the pen, yeah. Them new working fresh out the pen, yeah. It's weed from out of the planet. My bitch is way out of your league. Bitch, I'm way out of your league. My young niggas out of control. Shorty just bounce on that pole. I got that bounce, I'm a dog. I had an ounce of that smoke. I had them pills for the low. I had your bitch on the low. I had your bitch on my phone. I get that bag, then I go. I fell in love with the horse. I fell in love with the money. You can't take anything from me. If I stop now, would it love me? I fell in love with the daughter. I fell in love with the chest. Get the fuck up on my way. Thought you meet me around the way. Young nigga ballin' no Collins. Young nigga flexin' no Collins. Young nigga ballin' no Collins. Young nigga flexin' no Collins. I'm with the souls and they wildin'. You let me know if there's problems. I go to work with the product. Catch me flexin' no Collins. Catch me flexin' no Collins. Riding on top of the line. I fell in love with the money. I send my bitch in the bank. Young niggas ballin' on Collins. I take a left on the ocean. Jump in a whole lot of sauce spot. Call up the plug, what's the hola? Caught me a oar, some Zola. Addicted to comments and oars now. Living the life that they talk about. I still remember my first pound. First day I hopped off the front porch. Right in the field in the playground. Dream she bustin' for me. Watch how she pop it and live. Yeah, I still got what you need. I fell in love with the hustle. To love me if I went and packed up a duffel and moved to the 6 in Toronto. So rolling this dope I got from the Haitians. And no, I'm not Haitian. All this waiting, debating. Everything's up for the taking. Yeah, I fell in love with the hustle. I fell in love with the money. You can't take anything from me. If I stop now, would it love me? I fell in love with the dirty. I fell in love with the chest. Get the fuck up on my way. Thought you meet me around the way. Young nigga ballin' no Collins. Young nigga flexin' no Collins. Young nigga ballin' no Collins. Young nigga flexin' no Collins. I'm with the souls and they wildin'. You let me know if there's problems. I go to work with the product. Catch me flexin' no Collins.
Plug.